At one point, there was a back to Africa movement at one point. And many people are familiar with the Honorable Messiah, Marcus Garvey, who talked about everybody getting back to the motherland. And we've kind of gotten away from that. Marcus Garvey was an immigrant who was born in Jamaica who basically migrated to New York. And he started this movement called the Pan Africanist movement. Okay. And this movement is basically centered around getting people of African descent to go back to their home. They were so efficient at being able to do that. There was actually Ku Klux Klan, KKK, can't even say it, Ku Klux Klan members that donated to his movement to be able to get people back to Africa, right? Because think about it, the racists are like, yeah, go, leave, leave, leave. So this happens, right? In the 1900s, he actually creates his own transatlantic cruise ship, all right? And this cruise ship goes and it ports in New York, and then from New York, it ports and leaves, and it goes to all over West Africa, but mainly Ghana, Accra, Nigeria, Lagos, and different places all throughout West Africa. So this is in the early 1900s. This is when this happens, all right? And this movement takes hold, all right? At a time before social media, at a time before TikTok, before Instagram, before Facebook, before all those different things, Marcus Garvey was able to mobilize hundreds of thousands of black people, right? People of African descent. And you say, all right, Elijah, what does it mean to be of African descent? When I say anybody of African descent, I'm talking about anybody that is a descendant of the African continent. You know, to put it more plainly, anybody that has any melanated person in the world, any melanated person, if you're a melanated person, you are of African descent. And right now, greetings everybody from East Africa. I'm here in East Africa right now on the motherland, and it is a very, very, very beautiful day. I'm trying to get some sunlight so you can see me. I'm not sure how this lighting even is right now. But that's Marcus Garvey. That's a little bit about Marcus Garvey, right? And his Back to Africa movement. So right now in America, it's a unique time, right? And it's a unique time because you have different groups of people. You got some groups of people that will say, well, I'm not going back to Africa. Many people in my family and generations have, sacrificed to be able to be in America and all those different things. And, I understand and I get those points completely because all those points are valid, right? But when you think about all of the beauty there is, that is Africa, right? When you think about all the beauty there is, that is Africa. Right now, greetings to you from East Africa. I mean, this right here has to be one of the best beaches, not just in Africa, but in the entire world. And I want to show you right now, I'm going to show you a little bit of the backdrop right there. There's some jet skis. I'm going to show you right behind me. All right. Boom. Look at how it just goes and goes and goes and goes. So, you have many folks, they'll say, look, right, I'm not going back to Africa, right? It's not developed. It's not where I need it to be, right? But you gotta remember, it's not going to be able to be developed unless, you're going to be willing and able to make those sacrifices, to put in that work to be able to develop it. But I think there's been a lot of propaganda. I think there's been a lot of, he say, she say. I'm good, brother. A lot of he say, she say about, this people not liking this people and things like that. That has made it tough. That has made it tough to figure out what's fact and what's actually fiction. Look at that. Look at that helicopter. There's a helicopter coming right above me. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That was Marcus Garvey. That was in the early 1900s. But I think people are at a pivotal point right now because people are having to decide with everything happening in the world, what kind of direction do they want to take their family? What kind of direction do they want to take the next generation of folks that are coming behind them? Right? That's the big question. And everybody will have a different answer for it. Everybody will, answer differently. Everybody will feel. It all depends. It all kind of depends on who you ask. I've been here now for 3 months. 3 months, guys. Going on four, approaching four, very, very, very soon. And all I can say is the entire experience has been very, very beautiful, very different. But everything is going to be different when it's new. Everything. Everything that's different, ultimately takes time because it's all new. So if Marcus Garvey was here with us today in 2026, what would he say? What would he advise? Would he advise that you wait another 100, 200 years to make it back to the motherland? Or would he say, come back home, brother? Come back home, sister. Elijah Muhammad, before he passes away in the 1970s, he said two things before he left this world. He said, love your own and be yourself. There's so much friction. There's ultimately so much divide that we have. And we have to do that work of figuring out not just how to fix it, but two, how it can be improved. Different things we can think of, different avenues we can take. There is another world that exists. But, you got to be willing to make the sacrifices to take on that world. You got to be willing to make that sacrifice to make that jump. And until we do, ultimately, we'll never know. We'll never know. We'll never know. We have the chance to be able to make Marcus proud. Everyone in those early 1900s that said, look, we're not sticking around here. There were some people of African descent that decided, all right, I'm not just going to stay in America, okay? I'm going to go to Canada. So imagine being a slave in the 1800s and then running away and deciding you want to stay in New York. What the fuck? Why not just go to Canada? Right? There were a lot of black folks that went to Canada, Nova Scotia, and I'm not blaming them because everybody's situation and circumstance is all predicated and impacted and situated, by a lot of different things. None of which in 2026 I would be able to understand. But if I'm running off that plantation, I'm running far the fuck away from America. Because you got to remember, they had that the fugitive slave law. All right. Shout out to U.S. history and learning, knowing the name of those laws and things like that. That's why it's important to know your history. That's why there's been a lot of pullbacks with DEI and shit like that. Because, ultimately they don't want you to know that. Right? So the fugitive slave law stated that you had an obligation, a duty, and a responsibility as a white person, no matter what, that if you came across a slave or anybody, even in the North, you had to do the work of capturing them, finding them, and returning them to slavery. That made everybody that was white a bounty hunter. And I'm not saying that all white people are bad or anything like that. That's not the point, the premise. Because not everybody that was white participated in that and abided by that fugitive slave law. Because some people were Quakers, some people were abolitionists, some people weren't in support of doing that, right? And shout out to them. Those are the real ones. Shout out to the Quakers and Society of Friends for everything that they've done for melanated people, for black people, for the world. Quakers have been real ones for a long time, and I don't feel like they've gotten their credit for all of their justice initiatives, all of the things that they've done. They've been social justice warriors from the beginning. All right, the Quakers, the Society of Friends. William Penn was a Quaker. You know, Quakers don't believe in violence. Imagine that. But William Penn carried, a burner. Imagine that. Everything isn't always 1+1. Some things are 1+1 = 3. Some things 1+1 = 4. Sometimes 1+1 isn't always 2. But it's a unique and different day in America, right? And we have the know-how and the skills and the abilities to be able to think about life somewhere else. So, you got a lot of black folks also that are considering Thailand as a home, that are considering Asia as a home, that are considering Mexico, Tulum as a home. Home, no matter where you are, no matter where you go, home is ultimately what you make it out to be. But you're not a homeless people. You're a people that have been ultimately separated from your home. When I first came back, the first thing I did, I kissed the soil, I kissed the ground. I was so excited and delighted and pleased to be back. There's a scripture in the Bible. It says, this is my son whom I am well pleased. Right? And this is my home and I am well pleased. We don't consider this place enough. And we've been told that Africans don't like blacks, and we've been told that blacks don't like Africans, Jamaicans don't like Haitians, Haitians don't like Jamaicans, Caribbeans don't like this people, that people. It's all baloney. Sure, there may be some people who have, differences in values and beliefs and things like that, but to generalize entire groups of people, that's just idiotic. Idiotic. Love your own. Be yourself. The big thing you can do to be able to support this, hit that like button. Follow. Subscribe. Check out my YouTube page. Support the channel. I love you all. Wherever it be, whether it's Asia, whether it's Africa, whether it's East Africa. Africa is made up of 54 countries, okay? So to say that Africa is just one place, or people will say, well, Africa's corrupt. Oh, blah, 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 blah. When you say Africa, you're talking about 54, 53, 52 different countries. I think it's 53 different countries. Maybe 54. Imagine generalizing 54 different places. How fucking stupid do you sound? to say that 54 different places are all corrupt. I'm gonna touch on that a little bit later, y'all. But I'm out of here. If you can support the channel, I can use the support so much to keep this journey going. I'm out of here, everybody. I'm Elijah Adi. I have one ultimate goal, and that's to move everybody back to the motherland. Please consider making Africa, East Africa, or 54 countries a day. And I love you. Thank you.